pull the mic towards you for a second.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Matt's just running a little bit late, I think, as usual.
Chip chop, Matt.
Here he is.
Well, actually,
Well-
I think...
Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
There we are. Yeah, traffic was terrible.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Awful.
I think that's the first time I've been late, actually.
Yeah, it's normally me, is it not?
What was it like being sat here on your own?
That was all right. Me and Morgan just chilling for a minute or two there.
Absolutely.
Little-
I heard you weren't talking about me,
No.
because I'll find out.
Oh, yeah. It'd be on the recording.
Yeah. Oh, there we
Go
are.
mic
He
adjustment.
can't help himself.
Yeah.
There we are. So, today,
Yep.
our catchy title for YouTube / Spotify
Yes.
is Burn the Boats. When playing it safe isn't safe.
Yeah.
So, out of interest, what's your interpretation of that title? What do you think we're
Yeah.
really talking
I
about?
like the title. I love it, in fact. Burn the boats.
Yeah.
To me, that insinuates that you've hard commit. There's no way back.
Right,
You're,
yeah,
you're
bang on,
burning.
yeah.
Yeah. Is that what? How do you take it?
Yeah, well, that was obviously I knew the take because I asked you. It was interesting actually for this episode because I asked ChatGPT for 4 topics for today's filming, and it came. But I asked it to come up with 8.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I picked 4 off the menu, basically.
Yeah.
But then of the 8, I liked 3, but I didn't really find a 4th one. So then I said, right, come up with some more.
Yeah.
And this was the second round. I said
Was
I
it?
want it to be a bit more punchy.
Yeah.
Something a bit more. I want to finish on a bang.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so today's British business fact is all about. It's about Gymshark and Ben Francis. I mean, what an entrepreneur!
Yeah.
I mean, he's inspired a lot of people, including Morgan's little brother.
Yes.
Morgan's little brother is growing his own little gym brand, I believe. Is that correct?
He is indeed, yeah. He's just been sourcing materials. He's already made significant mistakes by just ordering a top that he'd been promised was to the perfect quality.
Yeah.
But his social media is flying at the moment, and I think he got 100 DMs to ask him for like fitness advice or something, which I think he's using as a funnel for the.
Has he come up with a name for his gym clothing brand?
Who do you think came up with the name for him?
ChatGPT.
No, it was me actually.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Second
One
best,
step up. One
second
step
best
up.
brain.
Second
there
best,
we
Yeah.
are.
So it's, his current brand name is Cretanium. I think he had another name before, but we settled on Cretanium because it was a kind of a take on creatine.
Oh right, yeah.
So titanium, creatine, Cretanium, and yeah, he seems pretty chuffed with it.
Exciting.
We've just finished the logo. He's got a website now, and he's also giving gym advice.
Well, if you need someone to handle his distribution
And his marketing.
I've got a great warehouse. We can do him a special deal on pick, pack and dispatch, pallet storage, all those good things.
Yeah.
I
all
thought
that
I'd get
juicy
in there
stuff.
first before Tom.
Yeah, well, I've got no space.
You're
So you can have the
capacity.
storage. In fact, have you got any more? Yeah, have you got any more?
That's funny, that. But it's interesting, like Gymshark, Ben Francis, they've inspired a lot of young entrepreneurs, I think.
Yeah.
Similar to Morgan's brother, who, like Morgan's brother, bit of an athlete. He's got a mountain biking background. He's now into going to the gym. He's then on the back of that personality and what he's got interested in.
Yeah.
A little bit like a couple of episodes talking about like outside influences into business.
Yes.
We touched on sport and hobbies and what have you. And actually what he's done is creating a business around something that interests him.
I like
Which
it.
is really intelligent, actually, because you then end up in a situation where going to work and working on your craft or what you're growing, it's not boring. It's not something. It's like it's interesting. It's something you're interested in, and then hopefully the actual concept of business then becomes interesting.
Yeah, that's the second part that. Yeah,
Like
I'm
when
sure
you're-
it will do. 'Cause
When you're at college and you go to business studies, it's like, oh god.
yeah.
And it's interesting that because they teach all about like boring stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, like business studies, but actually it's quite exciting. But anyway, we digress. So yeah, it's Gymshark, Ben Francis. He quit uni and went working at Pizza Hut so he could go all in on his business. that wasn't making any real money initially, obviously, just like all businesses start off. But that risk turned into a £1 billion company.
Yeah, amazing.
I think the UK's youngest. I don't know if he's technically. I think he must be a billionaire now because I think it's increased in value. But
Yeah.
I'm sure he's the UK's youngest billionaire.
Yeah,
Something
quite
like
possibly.
that. But at the time, it pretty crazy. Little story really, like to the point where rather than doing what Morgan's brother is doing, where Morgan's brother's looking at sourcing offshore, like Ben Francis was doing embroidery and like making the garments himself.
Yeah.
He was doing like he had like print things where he was printing his own designs.
Yeah, he was buying blanks, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
just
Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah, people are like, hold on a minute, this isn't Gymshark, this is Fruit of the Loom. But
Yeah.
no, everyone starts somewhere with it, don't they? And
Great.
and fair gain to him for doing what he's done and what he's achieved. Phenomenal, really.
I might actually have a really good introduction to make to Morgan's brother for that business. Someone that can produce stuff in the UK
Yes.
at really competitive prices with branding and embroidery. So
That sounds like a very
there we
interesting
are.
connection.
Obviously, there'll be a fee for the introduction.
A finder's fee. Yeah. Just a mere 5%.
I'll take 5% of his business.
I'd be interested to get you guys like your take on, he's thinking basically he wants to advertise in a fully organic way. He's seen different businesses they're basically giving a password website, so they're trying to create this hype around lower quantities of units.
Yeah.
Drops.
They're drops exactly. And so creating this kind of social hype to be able to sell products, obviously that's pretty
I couldn't agree more.
stuff.
I think for that type of business, like look at the brands like Represent. They didn't need to do any pay-per-click advertising because it was all organic about the brand, the story, I suppose the design as well for those guys. But then if you can create the hype around, and Gymshark as well, the hype around the brand on social, there's no need for paid. It can be all organic, but it's all about content marketing.
Yes.
And I think direct consumer businesses, which is what we're describing here, it's a different, like we're obviously direct consumer retail, online retail, where we're selling other people's brands, so we have to do slightly different things and we have slightly different margins to contend with. But yeah, I mean, we can do a little when he starts doing well, we'll have him on.
Yeah.
He's got to what milestone should we put on him? How many orders? How many orders has he had so far, Morgan?
I don't think he's had it. I don't think he's had any orders yet.
Right, well, I'm going to send me the link. I'll buy something from him.
Yeah.
I'll be his first order.
You can commit. Yeah.
I will. Following this, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, there we are. Excellent.
He's giving this gym advice, and I think he's currently charging like 10 quid for a PDF or something. 'Cause he's cracked it, and I don't know. It might be
digital
worth 10
products.
Quid. Yeah.
Massive margins in there.
I've been telling him he needs to get into the subscriptions, but the challenge is he's, selling something for even 10 quid a month to a teenager is quite difficult. They've not got the cash.
Well, I was chatting with my PT, Lucas. He's just hit over 10,000 followers on Instagram. He's kind of popped off because he finished 26th in the Manchester Marathon.
Right, well.
Out of a lot of people. I mean, he is an athlete. Like, he's an absolute machine, but just very driven, very entrepreneurial as well. Having a bit of a chat with him, and I can't say who, but he's got some serious brands knocking on his door to work with him on on an influencer base. He's already working with My Protein and a few others. He's just on that trajectory.
Good
but we were saying how if he gets 1% of his 10,000 people paying him 60 quid a month or something like that for coaching advice, that's quite a lucrative little business.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's quite a good, and it might be more of a the conversion rate might be 2 or 3% rather than 1%.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Anyway, we digress slightly, ever so slightly. So yeah, I'm a big admirer of Gymshark. Well, I think a lot of young entrepreneurs are. Because it's British, we're British business. I mean, maybe Ben Francis will come on this podcast.
maybe.
Yeah. We were actually just chatting. me, Morgan, and Tom before this episode about how we want to make it a bit more accessible to get guests on, because we've been talking about getting guests on for a little bit. So if you're listening to today's episode, probably in a few weeks' time, we're going to start having people remote in on the podcast, where we'll invite, it'll probably be friends of the podcast initially.
Yeah.
Get people to come on, we'll chat about a bit of a topic, talk about their challenges or their business, and get them on. So it'll be like audio in remotely rather than having to actually physically come here, because one of the challenges I've had is getting people that I know to come on who they're quite far away, down south or up north or further north than where we are. So if you're interested in coming on, drop me a DM on Instagram. That's probably the best way to do it. That'd be great. So anyway, so today we're talking about the concept of going all in.
Yeah.
Which I think we've touched on this topic before, but again, it's like it's a subcategory of like mindset, I think, and I just think it's a nice thing to talk about, especially this like hook kind of concept of burning the bridge or burning the boat. So you cross that waterway. Yeah. It's a little bit like which English king was it that went into France? It wasn't one of the Edwards, because I think it was Edward I that went into, or Edward II that went into Wales. But anyway, they kind of, it's that mindset of crossing the channel.
Yeah.
Like, and going, right, well, there's no way of going back. A little bit like when the Vikings invaded into England. Like, they've come all that way on the boats. They ain't going back.
No, they're definitely not.
They've been on the boats for a few weeks. It's like, or a couple of weeks or whatever, a few days. They're all in. They're coming to conquer.
Yeah, I like it. They're committed, aren't they?
Yeah, they're committed. They've made that journey. It's like you only want to make that journey once or twice a year.
Yeah.
If not once or twice a decade. So in relation to business, I think like this, it's kind of these all-in moments. But before we get into the meat of it, we've got the British blunder of the week. So this is an interesting one because it's about electric vehicles.
All right.
So British Volt's bold overreach. Do you know anything about British Volt?
No.
So they were basically an EV battery. I think the government were involved partially as well, which as soon as they get involved, it's like, what is going on? Well, basically, Britain's EV battery hope raised big money and then fell apart. So huge ambition, no infrastructure. Project was cancelled, jobs lost, government left embarrassed. Well, the latter's quite a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Irrespective of party politics, seeing the government be embarrassed, I mean, it's not an unusual thing, that.
No.
But I mean, they went all in on it, and I think it was probably founded like they basically wanted to manufacture batteries in the UK, but I think the UK's days of manufacturing are, unless it's, I mean, maybe like you could have an automated battery plant, but probably knowing the government being involved, they probably wanted to have people and not use technology and all the rest of it.
Thousands of people
to appease some kind of union or whatever it would be. So just a mess, basically.
That would have been the problem. Definitely.
Yeah, interesting. So, all in, what was the moment you decided to burn the boats, Tom?
Well, yeah.
Road King.
There's probably been the Road King.
Yeah. Tom saved in my phone as Tom Robe King.
And why is that? Go on, explain.
Well, you sell a lot of changing robes, don't you?
Yeah, no, we certainly do. Yeah.
All in on changing robes.
Yeah, we've got, good God, we've got
you
containers.
don't need to quote numbers, but containers.
Oh, God, yeah.
Container ships.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish. No, I don't know how many containers you get on a ship, but it's many, many containers coming.
Yeah.
So, that is certainly an instance of going all in on them because... Yeah. In fairness to that decision, it's off data, but then...
Well, Sun Tzuzi, Art of War, you reinforce success, not failure.
Yeah, well, there you go, I like that.
That's a big one.
I love that one.
Like, reinforce success, not failure.
Yeah.
Why would you go all in on something that's not working?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, some people do, and it's a dangerous thing, and then it does pan out and work. Or you literally burn to the ground and you're never seen again.
Yeah. We don't want that to happen, do we? Guys?
No. But yeah, I think from me, knowing you and looking at you, and you can probably see it in me as well. There's certain things that we both have done over the years where it's like, we've gone all in.
Yeah.
We don't need to comment on it. And I think that's the nature of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like where you've got that 100 quid in the bank account, you're like, I'm going to spend it.
Yeah, it's going. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Which goes back to that like whole cash flow thing and everything else of like the idea that, these days we run much more stable businesses where we like to have a good, strong cash balance, but that mindset of going, no, I'm going to buy more of that. I'm going to back that. I want to take the risk, take the punt. It's a big mindset.
It's a bold move, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to have the kahunas to do it, haven't you?
Yeah.
In the first place. But yeah, I think that's part of the individual, isn't it? Of an entrepreneur. You have that, like, the risk, like, it's working, double down on it. You know,
I mean,
keep going.
Going back to the Snugaroo episode, just remind me what the value of that stock was that you'd gone all in.
Yeah.
And then they did you for that, it was like a trademark infringement. It was like copying a design.
Copying a design infringement. Yeah, $250,000 nearly. 240K, wasn't it? Something like that.
250 all in on 250K.
Yeah.
What did you get for it when you sold it to the
big loss, wasn't it? It was awful.
Sorry, mate.
No, yeah. Let's not relive that one. Yeah. But it's a big loss. But you know what? Like
that's how you learn, though.
That's what I'm saying. Now I can look back on that, and in a way, it's probably good that it happened because it's a lesson, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you take those as you move forward, and it's just another.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, a long time ago.
How many years ago was that?
That would have
7.
Yeah, probably even longer than that. 7, 8 years, 9 years, maybe.
And look at you now.
Look at me now, still making mistakes. You're still going
got
for
that
it.
Ferrari on the drive.
Oh yeah. Where's that? I'm doing the toy one, the toy Ferrari. Max's little model Ferrari.
You've got a Holland's Country Club.
I have. That's all I need.
Yeah. That's your Ferrari,
with a flat white, and it'll do me just fine. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're not very materialistic, are we? No. I was actually talking to someone about this entrepreneur, and he's got a really good business to be fair, but he's just got himself a LaFerrari. Is it a £1 million car?
Yeah.
I mean, you've either got to be doing seriously well to do that, or you are seriously stupid.
Yeah, one of the two. Yeah, this is it. Like, I mean, some people see those. Is it a classic car, LaFerrari? Or is it?
I'm not a car guy.
Yeah. I've heard of them. They might be collectible cars. That, they might see that as an investment, but at the same time, could you deploy that capital within your business and actually make loads more money?
So the Robe King is thinking right now how many robes he can buy.
How many can I get for $1 million? Yeah. Well,
and how much he could make back.
Exactly.
That's it. All in on robes.
Yeah.
That's the way forward. Or in my case, we're all in on Blundstone.
Blundstone, is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah, Blundstones.
They're nice boots, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, we do a lot of Blundstone now. I think we're one of the biggest accounts in the UK. Well, really? Probably the biggest account in the UK. Maybe nice. I don't know. We do a lot with them. Great brand.
Yeah. Great. I mean, I've not got a pair, but I've seen them.
Yeah, we do a lot with them. We'll have to sort you out with a pair.
Yeah, get them on the. Wear them on the pod if you want.
I think I have worn mine, but it's not really weather. I'm actually representing Vivo Barefoot there.
Nice.
Wearing my barefoot shoes these days.
Yeah.
Very comfortable footwear. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah. Sorry.
I am actually all in on Vivo Barefoot. I've got like 7 different pairs. My feet are just so much more comfortable.
Number one fan.
But anyway, how far is too far? Have you ever pushed yourself too hard and risked too much? I definitely have. Well, the Snugaroo story is a good example for you, but for me, I mean, I've definitely there's certain products we've overbought in, or I've taken a risk with. I've done it with commercial property. There's different things, lots of different things, but that's how you learn, and that's how you learn where the threshold is for risk.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
because I think, in a way, you've got to burn yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to burn your fingers.
Yeah, but not get taken out by that. Yeah, like you say, burn the fingers, so it's not catastrophic, but it's a lesson.
Yeah.
And a scar that, this is how far I can push.
I mean, it's a bit savage, really, but in our house, we've never had a fire guard for the log burner.
Right. No, if you don't, they need to learn. They need to learn how close to get. I like that one.
Yeah, the kitten only stuck its nose on it once. Yeah, let nature decide.
Yeah. Well, that's it. In nature, that would be the case, wouldn't it? You learn from the failures and how close you come to that as well, don't you?
Yeah. No, I have definitely made some mistakes and overcommitted and all the rest of it. But that's because we're naturally entrepreneurial and driven. And I think anyone listening, you need to take those risks.
Yeah.
You've got to go for it at certain times, but ideally not overextend yourself too much.
Yes.
That's the key. You want to be putting some cash away, some cash reserves,
Yeah.
so that when it's a rainy day, it's not too damaging.
No.
Although rainy days for us are a good thing, so when it's a sunny day, it's not too
yeah, for you, you want the wet weather.
We want rain.
The classic British weather is what
That's
you want.
it, yeah. Country clothing, isn't it? That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
The role of fear in commitment. I think once you've had your fingers burnt a few times, you learn to control that overindulgence, and actually you learn that thing of like reinforced success, not failure.
Yes.
And it's the part of the problem is sometimes it's difficult to see what is going to succeed and what isn't going to fail. And actually, you mentioned before about being data driven.
Yeah. Going off the numbers.
So, behave off the numbers, but then sometimes, and I think the main focus of this episode is actually the concept of pushing yourself and taking those dangerous risks.
Yeah.
And why you should do it. So to refocus back in on the title, that concept of burning the boats, that going past the point of no return, going through that one-way doorway, that one-way door, like you do need to do that. And actually what it creates is a really positive mindset of like, I've got to make this work.
Yes. Yeah.
Back against the wall.
Yeah.
I'm coming out swinging.
Yeah.
And actually that can create your best work.
Yeah. Because you've got no other option.
No other option. Like I look back at my hard times in business and things where I've taken risks and things have been really difficult. Our best work as a business has been when we've had our backs against the wall, 100%. And I think that's something that everyone should think about.
Yes.
You do need to take risks, but ideally in a managed and controlled way, but sometimes it's good to
push through those limits, haven't you? You got to know, when to go hard. And like say, the best results maybe you've had within the business is when your back's up against the wall and you come out swinging, haven't you? You've got no other option.
And it could be little things like, I've got this amount of resource here, this amount of cash. Oh, if I hire this person, it's a bit of a punt. Well, you bring them in, and your job as the entrepreneur is to grow the business to pay for that.
Yes.
So actually, sometimes taking that risk, employing that extra person to systemize or improve something within the business, well, then your job is to make sure it's paid for.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. It might be a role that you're bringing in because you're taking a punt because they're going to grow the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, it's that risk you've got to take. So I think this episode is almost like encouraging. So disclaimer: if you take a risk, it's not our fault.
Yeah, and it goes wrong. Not our fault.
Yeah, it's not our fault. Yeah, exactly. But no, I think risk. We discussed in depth risk taking. I think, but this is really about that niche of like the big risks.
Yeah,
and I think you do need to take them.
Yeah, you do. You do need it. Well, inevitably along the way in the journey of lifespan of a business, those pivotal moments are going to come along, aren't they? Yeah. And it's going to be, do we do this? Do we not? Making that decision to firmly commit. Yeah. In one direction or not, isn't it? And going back.
I think the key thing with big risks is being in a position where it's your choice whether or not you're taking them.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Not being in a situation where you have to take a big risk because you've got no other choice.
Yeah.
They're dangerous scenarios for me.
Yeah.
I think you want to be in a situation where it's your choice to take that, to burn the boats, rather than it being a situation where you have no other choice.
Yeah.
Apart from to do this, and it's a one-way door and you're going through it and then that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important thing for people to consider is you do want to run a business that's cautious, steady, conservative in how it's behaving, but then at the appropriate times do the all-in moment.
Yeah.
But not too frequently or too often.
No.
Yeah. So how do you separate gut instinct from desperation?
Well, that probably ties back to what you just said there. Having gut instinct like that, instinctive feeling of we should do this, versus desperation. Desperation tells me you've got no other choice but to have to do it, haven't you? Whereas your gut instinct, I think, is a very, very good indicator for a lot of people in business. Generally, it's not wrong. And that suggests to me that you've got options. It can be, what we're doing. We're going to go into this market, this category, launch this new product. As though you've got the option to do so, haven't you? It's your decision, as you've just alluded to.
I mean, I'm just thinking about, I can talk about it because it's a decision that I decided not to go for.
Yeah.
But there was that commercial property I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, and I'm feeling quite positive that I made the decision not to proceed with it because, at the moment I've made the decision. You never know, it might stay on the market for a bit and I might get a better price on it. But at the moment I'm like, it's probably overpriced slightly.
Yeah.
For us to buy to let it, it's a bit too risky for us right now. I'd rather keep the reserves in the business or in the group of companies, and then maybe we'll go again with something different in another year's time or whenever that opportunity arises. And it's about understanding that, I think, that the more opportunities will come to you. I would say that's been my biggest learning thing and maturity as a business owner, is actually understanding that more opportunities will come over time. You don't need to jump at the first opportunity.
No.
But you need to make yourself available or put yourself in positions where those opportunities are going to come to you on a regular basis.
And then you are in a position to take advantage of those opportunities as well.
100%.
Resource-wise, or anything really, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Morgan's business at the moment, he's doing a lot of outreach. He's creating a lot of opportunities for himself, putting himself in a good position where he's got options and choices. I mean, Morgan, do you feel like you've had pivotal moments in your entrepreneurial career where you've had to make a decision to go all in?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the fact that like a lot of my filmmaking's been travel based and the podcast studio took off, like I think that's definitely a sign that I kind of went all in recently. I mean, I would say this is me going all in. This is me going, right, okay, I'm going to lock down to the location of the studio as opposed to, traveling all over the world. Because I can see that the work's coming in at a rate that, you just can't turn down.
Yeah, you're at a very different stage to your entrepreneurial career, and I'm not talking about size of enterprise. I'm talking about kind of like you're really pivoting because you've had a very different lifestyle for quite a long period of time, where you've been like you've been all over the world doing different things. Your all in moment is like committing to, right, I'm doing Cheshire Podcast Studio. Shout out. Link in bio. Basically, Morgan comments on all of our videos, so you can actually find him in the comments.
Oh, there we
Cheshire
go.
Podcast Studio, but that's the location, Cheshire.
Yeah.
So you've picked, I mean, it's a very intelligent one because it's a very affluent area of a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners.
It's interesting though, because I was doing some stuff with SEO guy, and he was like, right, so could you not call it Manchester Podcast Studio? I'm like, well, I suppose if it's if it's going to perform better, but like I think it's a real balance. So now I'm thinking like, okay, well, how do I get the SEO to perform but keep it as Cheshire?
Well, I'm gonna disagree with this SEO, because SEO is one of my areas of expertise. You're actually right to go for Cheshire Podcast Studio because it's more of a niche keyword, and if you go for Manchester Podcast Studio, it's more competitive. So you will immediately rank for Cheshire Podcast Studio, and Manchester Podcast Studio you may eventually take a little bit more time and actually go for the niche of Cheshire. No one else, there's no other Cheshire Podcast Studio, I would presume.
No, there's not.
So you now own that domain. Like,
it's a good domain as well, Cheshire Podcast Studio. .com,
the actual domain, but you own that niche of Cheshire, and actually, what a great area to have ownership over from an organic perspective.
I think one of the approaches I'm taking is, as opposed to going here is the majority of people searching for podcasts. I think there's a lot of people in Cheshire that should start podcasts. Affluent people with a lot of time, with a lot of knowledge. And a lot of money, and the combination of all three of those fits quite well for, my target audience.
When I saw your business, Morgan, I was like, that is bang on in terms of location, because you're in a hyper affluent area. Like for context, we're in the Triangle of Wealth in Cheshire East, where there is like Alderley Edge, Hale, Bowden, like these places where there's a lot of settled wealth.
Yeah.
Where there's business owners that could come on and talk about business, but actually there's business owners that can talk about their niche. So it's a very attractive location, very intelligent. So for Morgan to go, right, I'm going all in on Cheshire.
Yeah.
Like it's a big
decision.
It's a big pivot point, I would say, in your entrepreneurial career. Very interesting. And he's having to go all in every little step of the way, like buying more equipment and it's like reinvesting.
And this has been one thing as a filmmaker that I've always been intrigued about is people said to me and very early on that if you get into wedding videography, for example, it's very hard to get out of it. Now I was sat with a friend. This wedding videographer came to catch up for some drinks, and he pulls up in his I don't know, some sports car anyway. He pulls up in his sports car and comes for a drink. Yeah, anyway, heads off early. And my friend looks at me and goes, so why don't you do that? And I go, well, I don't want to get stuck in weddings. And she makes a fair point of, yeah, but he seems like he's doing pretty well for himself. And so it's very easy to get stuck trying not to do the thing which could make you a lot of money just because it's a small compromise. But sometimes it is actually about making a compromise because you're going to be able to use systems to, he'll be able to start getting somebody to shoot those weddings for him soon. And that successful business will thrive.
Well, I mean, the other thing of that is he actually successful? And I don't mean to be slanderous to your friend, I'm sure he is, but sometimes that perceived success just because the sports car's there doesn't necessarily mean it. And actually there might be not enough money in that bank account of that business to employ that second person because of the sports car.
Yeah.
Obviously, your friend, maybe not, but like I'm sure he's a good guy. But it's just that sometimes it's not as good as it looks. And I think when you're looking at all in risks, it's understanding that.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth more than going all in on weddings? It seems like quite a saturated market, I would say.
Yeah.
Podcasting is a bit more nicheified, especially considering there's no competitors in Cheshire.
What I like about podcasting is it's building this business that actually has a very clear path to be systemized.
Yeah.
In terms of hiring the first person to, to manage the studio is like, all I need is one professional, and I'm pretty much can be out the majority of the time. And so because I set systems up to mean that it can be run by somebody who doesn't have to have as much skill, for example, wedding videography, everything's about the skill, like every shot has to be perfectly arranged. Whereas, with a podcast studio, I've framed these cameras. If somebody comes and clicks record, it's it already looks good because I've already set up the great lighting. Makes it a bit, those are the small systems that are in place to mean that I can slowly but steadily look at hiring somebody.
Yeah, interesting. So this episode has been sponsored by Cheshire Podcast Studio.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks, Morgan, for being our episode sponsor. No, it's really interesting, I think, connecting those dots and understanding like different layers of risk. And I really like the fact that Morgan's connected the topic of this episode with going all in on Cheshire.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than being global like he has been in the past. If you had, and we're closing points now to finish up this episode, but if you had to start today, would you go all in the same way?
God. You know what? I think because when you're starting off, you are, like, it's different looking now, like 16, 17 years on or whatever, versus like day 16 in business. Like, you're a bit more, like, say, wet behind the ears, a bit more naive with it.
Rugged.
Bit more rugged, yeah, rough around the edges.
Bit more bruised.
Yeah.
Scarred.
Yeah, this is what happens with the time.
PTSD.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a therapy session.
That's from all the lessons learnt, though, isn't it, about making all the mistakes? So, yeah, I think early on, like that, in particular, it is probably easier to go all in, and you definitely would do, wouldn't you?
I think the big thing that people should learn from this topic or take away, because we're not trying to educate people here, but from my experience, you have to be prepared to go all in at the right moments. Yeah. And it's that latter thing that's really important, is understanding when it is the right moment and not putting yourself in a position where you have no choice but to go all in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's dangerous.
That is the key for me. So I think, just do it, get stuck in and go all in, because if you don't, other people will overtake you. Someone else would have been Cheshire Podcast Studio if it wasn't Morgan.
Yeah, if it wasn't for
And
Morgan.
then he would have been sat 2 years further down the line in Cheshire, where he's basically going, oh God, I could have done Cheshire Podcast Studio.
Yeah.
Look at that great successful business.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there a podcast studio called Liverpool Podcast Studio or something like that you've mentioned?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's Liverpool Podcast Studio. I think there's podcast studios in Manchester.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of perfectly in that kind of middle ground, so I can appeal to people in Liverpool and in Manchester.
Yeah. That live in Cheshire.
That live in Cheshire, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I think I had somebody come in the other day, and they were like, oh, I'm quite northern. So like, would it be possible to like adjust the background to make it more northern? I was like, they were like, it's very Cheshire.
What do we break some windows?
Yeah. What do we do?
They said, can we get some exposed brick in here? And I was like, well, I could take part of the wall out, but maybe we can slide in a board with some exposed brick.
Get a sledgehammer, smash the plaster off. Look a bit more Mancunian.
Yeah. I was like, okay, you've got 50 minutes left, and they're like, you know what? We'll probably leave the brick. Let's just record.
Yeah. That's funny. That is funny. So let's leave it there. I enjoyed that little episode. That was good. I think, like I say, the concept is great, and I think people should go all in, but think about it. That's key. So we'll be back soon. We're actually having a little pause in filming now. Morgan's going away. Where are you going, Morgan?
I'm going to do the Trans Madeira hike, which is a 6 to 7 day hike from one end of Madeira to the other. So it'll be my second island in the world that I'll be hiking from one end to the other.
Nice.
Did you where's my invitation for that? Did you send that in the post, or what was going on?
Yeah.
There we are. And you're going away as well, aren't you, Tom?
I am. I'm going to Portugal.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, Portugal.
I'm pretty sure Portugal's one of the tax havens for Europe.
Is it? Right, I'll have to
coincidental.
I'll have to have a little dig around while I'm there. And
I'm going to Cyprus this year.
I think is that not a...
That's another one as well. Yeah. How coincidental.
Interesting, isn't it?
I tell you what. How about when you get 10,000 people following the podcast YouTube channel?
Yeah.
We make a podcast. I will personally take all the podcast equipment to the top of a mountain and we'll make a podcast at the top of a mountain.
I think we should do that. That's a great way of celebrating. I'm going to counter that and say we did. Yeah, I mean, I think 10,000 is probably realistic. So 10,000 followers on YouTube. That's a good milestone.
We'll go to a ridiculously impractical place to make a podcast.
Yeah.
Snowdon.
Pitch up there. I'd say Snowdon's probably...
Snowdon.
I've got Starlink actually, so we could get Starlink on remote and we could do a...
Oh, brilliant. We can get somebody
we
to...
could live stream it as well.
Yeah.
There
we
go.
go.
Yeah. Or get a host, someone to come in as a guest.
I don't know how Cheshire that will be, though, in Wales.
Yeah, there's no mountains in Cheshire. We'd have to nip into Derbyshire and maybe go up like... what's it called? Kinder Scout.
Kinder Scout could do it, yeah.
Technically a mountain, just.
Is it? Right.
Yeah, just, yeah. But skin of its teeth.
Closer to home for us both, and for us all. So
anyway, let's leave it there, and we'll see you on the next one. Yeah. That was episode 20, so big milestone.
Yeah. Well done, Matt. Yeah.
Cheerio, guys. Cheers, Tom.
Thanks,
guys.
There we are.